as time goes on. So we have dignitaries present here today, and as time goes on, we'll introduce them when it's their turn to give us a message. And we would also have room to ask questions after the guest speaker gives his lecture. So if you have any questions already that would not be answered during the lecture, you can just note them down, because right after the lecture would have a few minutes to answer questions. So we'll start the program now. I would just confirm that our chairman is present before I call him up. Okay, I met him in the meeting. Yeah, so let's welcome our chairman, Mr. Oti Fasonya. He's the Director General of SMEDAN, that's Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency in Nigeria, the current Director General, and he's going to be our chairman for the day. That's a huge honor, if I must say. So welcome, sir. Love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you, sir.
Hello? Oh, okay.
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to this 9th IPEA Alumni Lecture Series. The topic of today is quite germane and is relevant to our activities as an agency of government in charge of MSMEs. So I'm really delighted to be with you, and I am looking forward to the lecture because I believe that we'll have a lot to take away from it. Talking about sustainability when it comes to MSMEs in Nigeria is a major issue. And we all know, I don't want to, since I have just 5 minutes to belabor the fact that SMEs are the bedrock of economies worldwide. But I want to place on record that SME competitiveness in Nigeria is still abysmally low, and these are due to a lot of factors. I believe the guest lecturer will do a lot of justice to this. But by way of statistics, I need to let us know that as an agency of government in charge of MSMEs, we do regular survey with the National Bureau of Statistics. The last survey, which was released in 2022, looking at 2021 figures, says that we have 39.6 million MSMEs. And it is that survey introduced a category called nano. Nano businesses are one-man businesses. These are mom and pop business, the tiny businesses that are employing just one person or maybe another person in addition. And this category of MSM, this area of businesses constitute over 90% of the so-called nano and micro businesses. And they are largely informal. So it's a sector that we have to really unhold. We try to introduce a number of programs that can move them from informality to being formal. But we recognize the fact that some businesses will remain informal because of their nature. And then the 2017 figures was like 41 million. So which means we had a drop of about 2 million between then and 2021 when the survey was conducted. Well, this, according to the survey, is likely due to COVID-19. But it's not just that. You know, most businesses, because of lack of competitiveness, die within infancy. And this is why the issue of sustainability is very important. It's good for us to know that in Nigeria, Small micro businesses, anyway, MSMEs generally, account for not less than 48% of contributions to the GDP. In terms of employment, they contribute over 85% to national employment. But unfortunately, contribution to export is just 6.2%, which is really, really low. So it calls for concern. And based on our field experience, this lack of competitiveness has to do with access to finance, infrastructural issues, especially power, capacity. A number of SMEs in Nigeria don't have capacity for the business they are doing. They do it by perception. My neighbor has a bakery. They also want to have a bakery. They don't know whether the bakery owner is buying cars. Maybe the children are sending cars to him from abroad. They just also go into the business. Issue of technology is there, market linkage, product packaging, standardization, a number of other issues that I believe the lecturer of today will do justice to. So I want to raise my case while we listen to the lecture, and then thereafter I will be able to say one or two things in addition to the lecture, but I don't want to preempt the lecturer. So let me, as the chairman of the occasion, welcome you all and to let you know that we are looking forward to the lecture and the aftermath of the lecture, because I believe we will also have things to take away that will enhance our modes of operations in the agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Those numbers really made me want to, or they increased my interest in today's lecture. Thank you so much, sir. I'd like to call on the guest of honor right now, Professor O. Fofi, who's the former Deputy Vice Chancellor, Admin, and also the former Dean at Faculty of Technology in UI. Sir, Professor Fofi, you are welcome and want to hear from you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you clearly. Thank you, sir.
Well, the chairman of this occasion, Mr. Oti Fasanya, then head of department, Professor Oladokun, distinguished guest lecturer, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I feel highly honored to be invited as a guest of honor at this particular lecture series, the 9th in the series. When Professor Oladokun called me a few weeks ago that I was invited as a guest of honor, I was wondering why me? But I quickly reminded myself that I definitely have a historical link with the Department of Industrial and Production Engineering. I will not talk very much. I will not talk about the lecture today because we have a very able gentleman, engineer, who will give us good knowledge of the topic that has been chosen. Now, I remember that when I joined the Institute of Applied Science and Technology in 1972, we noticed that there were some lapses in the curriculum of each of those courses that were given to us. And we then suggested that we needed courses in economics, in management, in law, and in history. Therefore, at that point, we had to invite Dr. David Osifo, at that time, who was a staff of NASA, to teach management and economics, and Mrs. Williams, who was Deputy Registrar Establishment at that time, to teach law. History was deferred till later. I also remember that In 1979, when late Professor Ababa stepped out as the dean, and my good friend who actually died a few weeks ago, Professor E.O.I. Banigo, came in as the acting dean, and I as the sub-dean postgraduate, we decided that we had some things that were missing within the faculty. Before 1979, I had suggested that the programs that were actually approved for the faculty were not viable without the basic engineering programs of mechanical, civil, and electrical engineering. Therefore, since the University of Ibadan at that time was not permitted by NUC to offer any of the basic engineering programs, I had to design and operate a hybrid program of mechanical, civil, and electrical, and production engineering, which we call machine design and production engineering, which we actually taught up to 1979. So in 1979, when late Professor E.O.I. Banigo and I decided that we needed to restructure the faculty, we then proposed through a subcommittee of the faculty board that we needed new departments. And the departments that we proposed then were mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering, industrial and production engineering, and architecture. By the time I presented this at the faculty board level, we had only one person in support, 4 against, and the remaining members abstained. But we had done our homework. We had the administration behind us, and fortunately, the 5 departments were created. So today, we have all the 5 departments plus the other 4 departments that were before then doing very well. And I believe quite a few giants have been produced from those academic giants, and professional giants have been produced from those departments. Let me take this opportunity to commend the efforts of the pioneer lecturers of the Department of Industrial and Production Engineering, late Professor D.E. Osifo, Professor Oloriniwo, Professor Samuel Awoniyi, Professor Oyawale, Professor Charles Owaba, and former dean, also Professor Ayo Oluleye. I want to thank you people for organizing this, and I hope that lectures will not be the only preoccupation of the alumni of this department. I hope you will put in place some process of having applying back some of your resources into the development and sustainability of the department. As I've said earlier on, I'm quite sure that the lecturer today will do justice to the topic that you have chosen. And I wish you all the best of luck. Happy listening. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you for your role in giving us our very dearly beloved department. We have you to thank for all that we have today. Thank you so much, sir. So, there's a lot of anticipation for the talk now, and I'd like to call on the person who will be reading the citation of our guest speaker, after which we would hear the voice of the guest speaker. And please note that there'll be room for questions after the lecture. So I'd like to call on Claudius Odayemi to read the citation of our guest speaker.
Okay. Good evening. Sorry, I'm just about to step into the house. Lagos, Lagos. So I'm going to try to share my screen now and do the needful. Please just bear with me just a second. Okay, let me try to share my screen. Share screen. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Um,
Can you see my
Okay.
screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead to second. So go ahead to okay, so all right, so let me quickly do this. Good evening, everyone. All protocol duly observed. So the citation of engineer Adeola Sosawo, CEO of Ogun State Security Fund, 9th IPA alumni guest lecture. The guest lecturer engineer Adeola Sosawo is from the Koyelu Akarigbo ruling house, Shagamu in Ogun State. He started his primary school education in Lagos at Ebute Metta. Thereafter, he moved to Shagamu to continue his primary education at Wesley School 2, Oko Shagamu. He proceeded to Remo Secondary School, the first educational school in West Africa. He was admitted to the Premier University, the University of Ibadan, where he studied industrial engineering and graduated with a second-class upper in 1992. He started his career with Connoy PLC, where he spent some years and rose to the level of a manager. Then he worked at Akon Petroleum PLC as a senior manager and left as a management staff to join Ascom PLC. He was the general manager of sales and business development while coordinating sales for 7 subsidiaries of the group for 1 year. Later, he joined Jushat Oil and Gas as the major shareholder and executive director of operation in 2014. He became the MD of Samgrid Energy Resources in 2020. Then he joined Raven Energy Limited, an international oil company, as the managing director and chief executive officer. While in Raven, he had a clarion call to serve his state as the executive secretary and chief executive officer of Ogun State Security Trust Fund until the present. He has had different postgraduate courses and additional professional qualifications, to mention a few. He attended an executive program at the Metropolitan University in Dubai, where he earned a master's in business administration. He also completed an executive program at Harvard University in Boston, USA. On strategic studies, he briefly attended the University of Edinburgh in Scotland and pursued a master's in petroleum engineering at the University of Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Nigeria. He is happily married to Dr. Mrs. Polajoko Susanwo Ni Ogunbanwo, also an alumnus of the University of Ibadan. He is blessed with 3 kids, 2 of whom are students of petroleum engineering at Covenant University. Engineer Susanwo has attended a series of training and programs across the globe, and some of them are listed below. 1, he attended a seminar on implementing sustainable strategy in the energy and extractive industries program. He participated in the Pan-European Lead session in London, United Kingdom. He attended a workshop on aviation and sustainable alternative fuel by ICAO in Montreal, Canada. He completed a safety training course on root cause analysis by NISP in Lagos, Nigeria. He participated in an international training on greening our economy by Lead International in Ottawa, Canada. He was present at the Lead Policy Dialogue and Business Roundtable on Energy in Victoria Island, Lagos, and the Africa Oil Forum by Platts in Lagos, Nigeria. He attended the Middle East Aviation Business MEBA in Dubai. Please join me as I make welcome Engineer Susanwo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Engineer Diola Shisowo, and it's my pleasure to be at this forum where I'll be presenting the topic of today. First of all, I want to salute my lecturer, Professor Ofi. He taught me thermodynamics in 200 level, and he impacted so much on me and some of my colleagues then. You're highly appreciated, sir. Thank you for joining us today. I also want to thank Professor Oluleye, my wonderful prof and the guru in engineering economics. You are highly appreciated for all the importation that we got from you. And also the chairman of today's event, Mr. Fasoya, you are highly appreciated. And also I want to salute our HOD, Dr. Mujisola Bolarewa, and our able moderator, Dr. Kazim. And I will not leave out Dr. Kolawole, who has been following up with me all this while. It's a pleasure being in our midst today. I'm going to share on the screen my presentation. So just give me some few minutes while I go straight to the screen. I hope we can see what I'm putting up now.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. The topic, sustainability of SMEs in Nigeria amidst unstable economy. You believe with me since 1999 that we started this democratic government. Our economy has been dwindling. It has not been that stable. Notwithstanding, we have been able to manage ourselves up to this moment. And somehow, some of our businesses have been affected in this regard. And that is why we're looking at how to sustain our small, medium enterprises in Nigeria while we face this unstable economy. My system is hanging. Just give me some minutes so that I'll be able to go through it. Okay. I will continue with my lecture while I'm still working on it. Now, what are the SME? What do we mean by SMEs? They are small, medium enterprises that contribute to job creation and global economic development. In Nigeria, SMEs represents about 90% of businesses in and around us, and it also created about 50% of employment as it were in other nations. However, the average SMEs, they contribute about 40% to the GDP of any nation, especially in the third world and the advanced world as well. And these figures is relatively low compared to what is expected. And that is why in Nigeria here, we have some organs of federal government like Smes, that is Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency, in which we are privileged to have the chairman the DG as our chairman today. Then we also have a National Bureau of Statistics that collects data from all over the country to look at what we are actually doing, because anything we're going to project, any business we want to project without considering data, that is information gathering, then we may be joking or playing around. Now, if you look at the number of SMEs in Nigeria, is been seriously dropping in the last 4 years. Like in 2017, we have about 41 million SMEs in Nigeria. And by the time we look at 2020, it had already dropped to about 38 million. So we are having close to about 3 million SMEs that have closed operation within 3 years in Nigeria. Some factors are responsible. And some of these factors are what we're going to consider here, so that if there is anyone that wants to start small business, you'll be able to watch out for these factors that affect the small businesses. Now, I need to tell us that there are over 600,000 small-scale enterprises and 53,000 medium-scale enterprises that are doing formal business. You recall, when the chairman was talking, he made mention of formal and informal businesses. So the people that are really doing the formal businesses through SME, they are just very few compared to the large number of SMEs we have in Nigeria. So to say, somebody selling pure water, we cannot say he's doing a formal business, or a roadside mechanic or a organizer on the road. We cannot say he's doing a formal business, because there are so many things that are entailed to that. And we need to understand too that these SMEs, they are responsible for about 51.7 million jobs in Nigeria, according to the data collected from Smes. You see, 51 million. So if we put away, or if we put aside SMEs in Nigeria, then we are expecting an unemployment to the tune of 50 million people. And this will greatly have gross impact in Nigeria economy. In 2017, we have in record that SME contributed about 50% to Nigerian GDP, which is a very resounding one. Not only that, about 80% of these SMEs in Nigeria, they fail within the first 5 years of formation. Can you imagine that? 5 years of operation, some of them, they actually started very well. But unfortunately, after 5 years, they collapse. You don't hear about them again. Like, let me just give us some examples here. Some of us will remember there is this particular Maggie cube, they call Doye cube. They started very well. In fact, the product was named after the owner, but today, something has gone wrong. They have gone underground. If you look at Concord newspaper, it was started by an entrepreneur, but after of the business owner, the business collapsed. Okay, now let's look at a wider view, Daily Times of Nigeria. Do you still hear about them again? What happened? This is an establishment that was incorporated by a whole nation. But what are we talking about today? They have gone. They are nowhere to be found. Look at our refineries. What has happened to them? These are big companies that started in a small way, but where are they? And that is why it is very important for us to look at some of the factors that are responsible for the failure of this SME. Now, we need to understand this, that SME, they receive less than 27% of total fund released as bank loans and advances. And we could, we could deduce that between 2017 and 2022. And you can also confirm this information from GTB and Zenith Bank. Out of the total amount released by Zenith Bank in 2020, talking about last year, third quarter of last year, they released about 4.6 trillion naira for loans. And you won't believe that only 775.4 million was received by SMEs, less than 1 billion naira. And a total of 4.6 trillion was released. So that shows that the SMEs, they are not really getting support, financial support from all these financial institutions. Now, there are three major problems that are facing SMEs. Number one, financing. Number two, high operational costs. Then number three, registration of companies. They are major challenges. Unfortunately, I've not been able to unlock my PowerPoint. I will have shown you a particular diagram there. Now, this diagram, it has three circles. I hope Dr. Kolawole can help me because I have a copy sent to you. Now, this diagram has three major components. Number one, finance. Number two, operational cost. Number three, the formal registration of SME. Now, there are interjections in between these circles. A situation where you have finance, that is, you have money, little capital, initial capital to start business, and you have operational cost that you want to incur to start the process, talking about the material for the product you want to produce, the machineries, and the manpower, all those things, you have them. Those are categorized under operational cost. If you have those two, the finance and cost that have been defined, then that business, that SME is bearable. And it is this kind of bearable businesses that will not last more than 5 years. Something will happen and then they will go down. But in a situation where you have operational cost, yeah, you know what you want to do. You have the raw materials, you have the machineries, you have the manpower, you have the technology, and you register the company. That is talking about registration now. That business becomes viable. It might not be profitable, but it becomes viable because you don't have finance. You don't have capital. You don't have support from banks to be able to enlarge your course of business. And in business, there are rules of engagement. The moment you define the rules of engagement in business, such a business will collapse. Now, the other section is when you have finance, you have the little money. There are many people today, they keep their money in banks. They don't invest. They don't believe in investing. They prefer to rather buy shares and keep their money to get some interest. Yeah, that is good. But if you are an entrepreneur, you want to have a company, you want to think like Ewell and Packard, the HP, how they started in the garage. And then from there, they started growing. And today, HP is a household name in computer and computer accessory. What if they decided to be like some of us? Let's keep our money. Let's keep our knowledge. Let's keep everything that we have to ourselves and our family. They will not have HP today. So there are times you have your finance and you have the power to register your companies with the government. But when you are not appreciating the operational cost, then such a business, such an SME becomes feasible. Yeah, you can do it, but it's not going to be profitable because you have not even launched out. But what we are talking about today, we are talking about a scenario where you will have the finance, where you will have the operational cost, where you will have the registration. You will register the company in the proper way with the appropriate organization within the system. Then such an SME is what we can refer to as a sustainable SME. I hope I'm communicating with us. So we want our SMEs to be sustainable. And for it to be sustainable, there must be finance, initial cost of investment. Then, as time goes on, there should be provision for CapEx, that is capital expenses. There should be provision for operational expenses if we want such a company to expand and become the big polar companies as we have in the country today. And so the finance aspect, which is the major one, we are not getting all the necessary support from banks. It is very glaring. The banks, they are looking for, they want, you go to bank, you say you want a loan, maybe 5 million naira. They will tell you, go and bring all your land document. They will tell you to go and bring this collateral, this and that. Where do you expect a pure water seller that intends, that has the vision of producing bottled water? Where do you expect such a person to get fund or to get collaterals that will be presented to get loan from bank? These are the problems we are having. And I hope our chairman of today, he has mentioned it, but we really want the federal government to look into this properly to see how we can alleviate the little sufferings that are being experienced by some of our people that have visions, they have focus, they have ideas, they want to grow their ideas, and they want to grow their business. Not only that, we also need to look at the cost of running SMEs. Unfortunately, the Nigerian system is not encouraging us. Now, I'm going to give some practical example. In 2014, I was the general manager of a particular company. The company was almost collapsing. And as an industrial engineer, I sat down, I analyzed the major problems they were having. And I came up with solution. And within 6 months, this company was almost going down, started making profits of over 2 billion. And we have just about 300 staffs in that company and 7 subsidiaries. They started making profit. Unfortunately, the owners of the company, instead of reinvesting the money, they were just squandering the money. At the end of the day, I looked at this and I felt I cannot continue this way with these people. I left. After I left, just 2 years, the company was sold off because they couldn't sustain the pace at which we started after the company was almost collapsing. So whom are we going to blame for such? That is, they were not able to take care of their operational cost. Operational cost in Nigeria is a big problem to us, especially in the area of electricity. Someone that wants to, okay, let me give you another instance. In Shagam Township in Ogun State, there's one thing that is common with them. And what is that thing? The thing is they do a lot of partying. They can spend millions of naira doing party. Unfortunately, we don't have ice blocks that they will be that will be used, to ice their drains. And somebody from all the way from Ibadan got this idea, said, look, let me just have some blocks and make blocks and bring everything to Shagam and be selling to all these people that are doing party. The guy started it. After 5 years, he has over 50 million in his account, just selling ordinary blocks. On Fridays, he brings these blocks to Shagam and he distributes to those who are going to resell. And then I sat down one day, I said, why can't I do this thing in this town? The only problem, the challenge I have is, how do I get electricity? How do I get light? Now, there are other people that would love to do this kind of business. It's a small business, but you will be able to generate money. We are talking about SME, small, medium enterprise. And then you'll be able to employ 1, 2, 3, 10 people into such business. You provide job for them, you provide monthly salary for them, and then you'll be able to meet the need in that particular community. But unfortunately, we will need to get a very big generator and freezers that will be able to freeze all these blocks. So it is very discouraging, especially now that you have to burn about 24,000 naira worth of diesel just for 8 hours. It's very bad. And that person that is going to spend such an amount, how much is he going to make? So it's very disheartening that our operational cost is increasing on a daily basis, and it's not encouraging all these small businesses to thrive. That also is very important for our government and a regulatory body to look at. SMEs employ fewer numbers of employees depending on their capital scope, their annual turnover, and financial strength. A company that is having about 300 staff is still categorized under SME. But you see some of them, they say they call themselves PLC, they get some board members, and then they come together, and then they begin to do their business. And at the end of the day, the cost of managing their personnel is more than the profits they are making. Within the next 5 years, they're going to fail. And that is a major problem we are having in Nigeria here. SMEs, they are catalysts for economic growth and national development. So if you are looking for a nation that wants to grow, then they need to look at the policies that are guiding our small, medium enterprises. Now, apart from oil and gas, Nigerian economy depends on corporate indigenous companies, and predominantly by small and medium scale enterprises. So it is very important for the government of the day to look at what we can do to support all these small, medium enterprises. Now, the small, medium enterprises, they cover the street traders, they cover the market traders, they cover the hawkers, they cover even some corporate bodies that have assets between 5 million and 100 million. And the employees number are usually between 1 and 300 at most. So if you have an idea, and there are many brilliant people in this country that have ideas, but they don't have the finances, they don't have the support, they don't even have the money to make their company formal before the banks will start telling them, go and bring this document, go and bring that document, go and bring your financial. Somebody that is selling foodstuff, somewhere, the bank is telling the person to go and bring financials. What financial will such a person provide? So we should make our loan policies to be flexible enough to accommodate all these, our SMEs, as we discussed this evening. SME also, like I said, they create employment generation. Not only that, they create economic growth and development. And they also create a competitive and healthy economy. Look at what just happened in Lagos recently, the commencement of Dangote refinery. Yeah, big dream, wonderful project, wonderful business. But let's look at it. What will happen to this company in the next 5 years? It depends on the cost, the finances, the people that will manage it. Unlike some foreign companies that are still surviving today, talking about KFC. KFC is everywhere in the world. The business owner is gone, dead. And the business is still thriving. How? What happened? Why are they still thriving? Why are they still expanding when the business owners is not even around? Look at Orange Computers and Accessories. They are thriving. They are still surviving up to this moment after the death of Steve Jobs. What are the secrets? Why are they still surviving? And these are some of the things we need to let our people know. And that is why it is very important for the people that want to, engage themselves in SME to go for training on how to manage business. You see, the problem most business owners make is once they start making small money, they want to buy the biggest car. They want to live in mansion. They want to live in abroad. They want to take their family abroad, spend money. They are already eating up the profit. And very soon they will start eating up the capital that they have used to invest in the business. But a white man or an informed man, when he makes his profit, he wants to reinvest. He wants to go into diversification. He wants to expand his business. He wants to sacrifice. He wants to make his business sustainable. He wants to make his business to continue to survive, even when the economic situation is very, very bad. And that is why our small business owner, they need to change their orientation. Yeah, you have to change your orientation. I don't expect, I've challenged many young billionaires, and you see them, they buy wristwatch of 5 million, they buy ring of 10 million. I say, of what importance? Oh, they say they are trying to save the money. You're saving the money with the ring. What will the ring do to you? Will it add value? But if you reinvest such money into your business, there will be expansion. There will be creation of more jobs. There will be creation of more, products. But unfortunately, the situation is not what we expect. SMEs under corporate entity, they operate under legal system. It is very important for our SMEs to be legally managed, legally registered. Now, let me share this with you. There is a particular eatery. It's a local eatery owned by a woman, illiterate, sells rice, this and that, cook food. She started in a very small way. She had about 2 staff at that time. After 1 year, though some people said maybe she did some other fetish thing, I'm not talking about that now. I'm talking about business etiquette. She started in a very small way. Within 1 year, our staff grew to 15. Within 1 year, our profit grew to about 65 million. In a year, just selling rice, beans, amala, and what have you. And the way she packaged the product, you will think you are in another Mr. Biggs or Sweet Sensation, but this is a local woman, uneducated woman. Then one day she told me, Oga, I want to buy estates. How much do you have? She told me she has over 200 million. I said, how did you make this money? She said, from the trade she's doing. You see, this is not an educated person. I looked at the woman, the way she dressed. She doesn't even dress like a rich woman. She doesn't even dress like somebody that has over 10 million in an account. But she has this business thinking. And that is what our young graduates need to have. You know, how much are you making that you want to go and buy a wristwatch of 1 million, 2 million? How much is your profit? If you turn that money into a business, a small scale business, you will have profits, multiple profits. Now, I remember a particular man, Engineer Longe. He used to be the chairman of West African Portland Cement. Now, before he became chairman of West African Portland Cement, he was married. The wife was working in NEPA then. And he discussed with his wife. He said, look, my wife, the two of us cannot be working. You be working, let me go and do business. And with the little money he had, he went into business. And the wife was doing regular job. Now, along the line, there were challenges, business challenges. And then this man will come by and say, my wife, I've not been able to pay the salary of my staff. The business is very dull now. And then the wife said, okay, don't worry, my husband. Once I collect my salary, I'll give you part of it, you need to pay off your staff. So they started in a very small way, but today they are the owners of Nigerian Wires and Cable. Not only that, he became the chairman of the largest cement factory at that time, WAPCO. How did he do it? Because he was mindful of his expenses and he was mindful of the business. He had a vision and he was pursuing that vision. So it is very important for us to cut our operational costs when we are going into small, medium enterprise. Then what are the major challenges that we have in Nigeria? Like I said, we have the limited access to finance is a major problem. Major problem. Look at our young graduates. They are looking for a job here and there. Unfortunately, for most of them, while they were earning their stipend, their allowances, they ought to have made some savings. Like what one of my uncle told me, he said, look, Biola, any money you have, you want to spend, let's assume that I want to spend 1,000 naira. He said, you must make sure you have 10 times of that amount in your account before you spend it. So if I'm going to give you 1,000 naira, I must have 10,000 naira in my account, such that when I remove the 1,000 naira, it will not have any significant effects on my balances in the account. But that is not the way young people see this way. They have 5 million naira in their account, they want to spend 4 million naira. And then when they have done that, their eyes gets open. Oh, I don't have money in my account again. They start thinking, I need to steal government money. I need to steal this, or I need to do this. And then they start thinking of, all these bad things to do. So we need to manage our finances. Though we have challenges with limited access to finance, and I hope the federal government and the Sweden, they will be able to assist us in this. Then number two, again, there is inadequate legitimate support. Inadequate. Our Corporate Affairs Commission, they will give you 1,001 ways that will frustrate you in registering your company. Company registration shouldn't be a big problem, but they will make an holistic acts on this before you get your company registered. Not only that, poor management, I've mentioned some things on that. Then administrative skills, training is very important. Training of our young graduates. There are some institutions that are doing that currently. Some of our politicians too, they are doing it. They want to train our children, our youths on ICT, on how to use internet and how to make money, and all this e-money, e-marketing, everything. They are trying their best in doing that. So we need to do more of administrative skills and training. in area of SMEs. Not only that, another thing we need to look at is poor infrastructural facilities. Unfortunately, we have a new government now, and we are hoping that their tenure, we assist our small scale industry, where I'm part of them because I'm also a politician. So we are hoping that the people at the ends of affairs, they will be able to do proper things in assisting our small scale businesses. Then what are the preventive measures we need to take to have, to make our businesses sustainable? Number one, funding and seamless access to finance, very, very important. We need to have finance, and we don't need to divert our money for social welfares or whatever. Business money should be strictly be used for business. Then not only that, adequate training and education. I mentioned that. Then we also need to look at provision of good and improved infrastructural facility, especially lights. Once we are able to solve the problem of power generation in Nigeria, there will be a very fast growth in our businesses. And I wish that the new government will be able to look at it holistically. Unfortunately, the government of Ogun State, in which I'm part of them, we're already strategizing on how to have our own independent power supply station at 4 major towns in our state. And we are commencing that by next month. And within the next 6 months, we're going to be having at least 20-hour supplies of lights in Ogun State. So I'm inviting some of us that want to invest to come to Ogun State, and you will enjoy power supply, and you will not have issues on high cost of power generation. Then inadequate collateral is a major setback to receive loans from bank. I've mentioned that before, that our banks, they will give you hurdles that you cannot even fly through, and then they will tell you to go and bring the death certificate, the birth certificate of your late father before they can give you loan. It shouldn't be. Well, we don't have to blame them, because some of our people, when they get loan, they divert, they divert the money. They don't use the money for business. They go into properties, they go and enjoy themselves. But we need to know at this junction that SMEs, they are vehicles for economic development and employment generation, just like I've said. And one thing that I need to commend the CBN for is they have been able to come up with instructions to banks, especially for agricultural scheme, that every bank must set aside 5% of their profits after tax annually to support small, medium enterprises. 5% is not too much for these banks to do. And I hope the central bank will be able to follow up on this, so that the people that are supposed to enjoy the money, they will be able to enjoy the money. Once again, gentlemen and ladies, my lecturers, my colleagues who are here today, I don't want to take much of our time. I've been able to discuss some few points that will assist us in sustainability of SMEs in Nigeria amidst unstable economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. That was a very, very enlightening session. And I think I could relate to some of the things that were mentioned as per young people wanting to spend whatever little money that they have. And I was doing a little math in my head when you stated the rule your uncle gave you not to spend money unless you have 10 times of it in your account. I think that's a tough route to follow. It's a tough route to follow, but it's something to consider, particularly if one is running a business. So thank you so much for that lecture. I think even without these slides, we could still follow everything that you were saying. Thank you so much, sir.
So I'd like to give the chairman room to make any remarks that he has currently. Mr. Chosonya.
I'm not so sorry, I'm Mr. Fasonya.
Sorry, Mr. Fasonya. I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Fasonya.
Thank you very much. Let me thank the lecturer, the guest lecturer, Engineer Adeola Sosanwo, for a very brilliant presentation. Initially, when I spoke, I skipped protocols because I felt that 5 minutes, let me put across but I can see that the follow-up seekers were following protocol. But I hope I will be excused for that. Your lecture has been very insightful and have been very, very interesting, especially the experience sharing and case studies. I took a lot from it, and some of the key areas that you raised are areas that can ensure sustainability, issue of support from government, issue of funding, reorientation, prioritization by even both government and the SMEs that are concerned, and some of the solutions that you prefer, are quite germane. But I want to also add that in as much as government needs to do a lot, a number of our MSMEs are usually, they have a lot, how do I put it? When government is involved, especially when it comes to funding, our MSMEs try to look at it like dividend of democracy based on our own experience. And most of our initiatives in this regard have failed because once SMEs know that government is involved, even when they're able to access funding, they don't want to pay back. And it affects other people that want to access. But that is by the way. Our own agency, since I came on board, what we are trying to do to assuage the situation is to encourage shared facilities. Let's look at clusters of businesses. Even where we don't have clusters, let us have common facilities that SMEs can come and use so that they are not going to be responsible for providing infrastructure in terms of power. So when they come to use the share facility, power is already provided, whether through alternative energy or through provision of a generator with diesel. So you are not spending your money on that. You just come to produce, and then you take it to your showroom, and then you can. So our determination is to look at states that we can encourage to have share facilities. For us as an agency, we are looking at that, and we have some share facilities in some states. But since I don't have much time, these are things that we believe we can explore to solve some of the challenges of infrastructure. And then, but for funding is a major issue. And what we are trying to encourage is if we can have credit guarantee scheme from government, it will really help so that banks will have some confidence in giving out funds because of the way they source their funds. If there's credit guarantee scheme by government, it will help. These are some of the issues I just want to add to your wonderful lecture. But honestly, you've done a good job, and I have a lot of takeaway from your lecture, which I believe will really help us. And then another area of concern, because you spoke about the issue of capacity of the SMEs and the need for training. We are trying to de-emphasize classroom training so that we do more of BDS, Business Development Support Services. Ask officers to go to the marketplace, look at people that have access funds. Why are they not paying back? What can we do to assist them? Those that have no access, what are their problems? Do they really need money from banks, or there are other sources where they can source funds? But don't let me start another lecture. Let me run this off by thanking our guest lecturer and thanking the IPEAA alumni for bringing this issue of SME and sustenance up and for inviting me to this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We are looking forward to seeing all that you are working on with the agency. We're sure that the country would be better for it. And I think I'm particularly excited about the shared facilities innovation because I've not heard of it before and I've not thought of it before. So it shows the intentionality of the agency in solving our problems in Nigeria. So looking forward to all that would yield. Right now, we would go on to take questions from people in the audience or comments, remarks from people who have listened and maybe have a few things to say or have a question for our guest speaker to answer. So you can use the comment section, or if you would like to speak, raise your hand and you'll be given the floor to speak. I think a question came to mind while I was listening to the lecture. So maybe before people, or while people are still typing in their own questions, I'd just like to quickly ask, and you touched on it a little bit, but sir, what would you say, what measures would you recommend that banks put in place to make sure they're not being scammed by people who are requesting for loans? Because yes, on the one hand, some of the things they ask for are maybe erroneous, too much, but it's just measures trying to avoid being taken advantage of by people. So if they make the bar too low, that would make loans accessible to every and anybody. So what do you suggest banks do?
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. I think the main thing we need to look at from this side is, number one, the problem starts from the Corporate Affairs Commission. If an SME is properly and legally registered, banks will have an easy way of doing business with such. But when the Corporate Affairs Commissions makes it very difficult for small scales industry to be registered, sometimes it takes about 6 months, 4 months to be registered. Then banks they will not want to, most banks, they deal with legal documents. So they will not want to just give their money to a roadside mechanic or a roadside hawker to, that they will not be able to trace their money again. But we have some microfinance companies that do that. So I will expect that such an intending business owner to approach all these microfinance banks, and they'll be able to get some loans, even though it might not be up to their expectation, but they'll be able to get some few amount of money that they can use to start their business. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. That's very helpful. Do we have any questions or any hands raised? Does anybody want to add something or share an experience, ask a question for our guest speaker? Okay, somebody's hand is raised. I will just say engineer. I don't know, but that ratio counts. So Kabilinos wants to speak.
Good evening, all. Thank you, Dr. And thank you so much, Jack, for that wonderful presentation. This is Dario Shokabi, Chijin the Linus. So my question, I'm not sure if this was, if much was said about it earlier, but I heard you mention about power and something about the power in Ogun State and all. So I know that lack of power, unstable electricity is a major bane of SMEs in Nigeria and across the world. So I don't know if there's just that advice, apart from possibly changing location to where you have more stable power. So I don't know if anybody has has discovered, a way out of this to make sure that SMEs can actually survive, because I know it's a major contributor to most businesses folding up in their early years. So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, power generation has been a major challenge in the country for a while, and we are trying to find solution around it. But alternatively, we have this solar power that has been, everywhere now. You have solar cell, then you have the converter, everything just working for you to be able to get a minimum supply of electricity. Let me just give you an instance. There is this guy. What does he do? Initially, he will buy fuel, put on his generator, and then he has different plugs, sockets that people will come to charge their phone at night. He does this every night, and he collects token. Maybe for 1 hour for you to charge your phone, you pay 10,000 naira. And this guy, at the end of the day, he goes home with 50,000 naira. Just look at the breakdown. He goes home with 50,000 naira. He buys fuel of 8,000 naira. And at the end of the day, we have about 42,000 naira that he will go home with. And how much did he buy this generator? I passed my neighbor. He bought it for about 65,000 naira. So within 2 months, he has already recouped back his initial investment. But today, he's no more even using generator. He's using solar cell. So for some other small scale industry that will not use heavy power or heavy equipment like that, you can just get some solar power that is being sold everywhere, and then you'll be able to do your business. Like somebody that is doing marketing online, you just need a little voltage that will power your system, and then you connect to internet, you'll be able to transact your business. So we're having alternatives, but I believe that within the next 1 year, the power generation in Nigeria is going to be better off. I'm very, very convinced about that. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer, sir. I hope that, or I don't know, I'm not sure if it's affordable for everybody to use solar cells, but I think that there are other alternative energy means. So people are trying to the word democratize, but make cheaper alternatives to energy. So I think you answered well that there are other alternatives that people can explore. And
Yes.
maybe in thinking about yourself, you can also think about making money off other people's needs, like this person that charges devices for people. So that's a good idea. Thank you, sir. Somebody else has their hand up. Chidi Ebere wants to say something. Ma or sir? I don't know. Okay, Mr. Chidiebere, you have the floor now.
Yeah.
Sir, are you trying to speak? No, his network has dropped him off. the call. If somebody is sharing their experience with trying to get a loan, in the comment section, says the bad experience they had with loan was the application they made for CBN Tithe. After investing the money they saved during NYC for business registration and every other document, the organization that volunteered to follow up on the application has not given any response. That broke this person down. Okay. So I just want to clarify, does this mean that you're using a third party to get the loan from CBN? So what would you say about using third parties to get a loan? Should people approach the bank by themselves, or what's the process for acquiring a loan from CBN as a business owner?
Okay, let me just give this illustration. There is this principle I have. I use what I have to get what I don't have. I use what I have to get what I don't have. In 2013, I was a shareholder to a particular company, and that company, we didn't have money. We were just two of us. And all that we had then was 13 million naira. And the project we wanted to do was in millions. So what we did was, I said, okay, don't worry. You present the money, I had my own part of it to hit. We started in a small way. And because we're very disciplined with our expenses and our money, 13 million naira without a loan from bank, we did a turnover of 256 million within 6 months. Within 6 months in this Nigeria. Then after a year, I had about 4 banks offering us 2 billion naira each as loan. We didn't go to them. So I want to encourage these, our young graduates. You don't need to go to a third party if you have little money. Start with what you have. All you need to do is sit down, strategize, think. What can I use this money for? I told you of a particular woman that was just selling rice and beans. And all of a sudden, she's competing with Mr. Big's Sweet Sensation and had hundreds of millions in her account. A local woman without formal education. All I will tell you is start with what you have and be disciplined and be determined. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a very inspiring story. I mean, your personal story, very inspiring. Thank you so much, sir. Before we take any other questions, I would like to recognize some people present here. And we have the CEO of Smes, that Mrs. Idachaba Obaro. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, ma'am. And we have the Director of Center for Entrepreneurship in UI, Professor Arulokun. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. We acknowledge your presence. We're grateful that you took out the time to be here with us this evening. Okay, so do we have any other comments, any other questions? I don't think Mr. Chidiebere has been able to. Okay, he's here. Mr. Chidiebere, would you still like to ask your question? We still can't hear you, sir. Maybe you can type it in the comments. I think the network is really bad.
Just trying to talk about is in the
Oh, sir, we can't hear you. The network is really breaking. Or you can type in your question or comments in the chat section, sir. Okay. In the absence of any other questions or comments, I think we can take the closing remarks from our guest speaker. Hopefully, Mr. Chidebere can send in his comments before we wrap up everything that we have for today. But right now, I'd just like to ask our guest speaker to give his closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank everybody. And like I said, in our state, Ogun State, we are becoming #1 state in industrialization and business opportunities. I want to invite, on behalf of the executive governor of the state, I want to invite as many people that would love to do business here in Ogun State to come over. We have everything, what it takes to make your business thrive. And no matter how big your business may be, how small your business may be, we'll give you all the necessary support. And I also want to encourage our young ones that, look, don't say until you have millions in your account before you can start up with something. I'm an industrial engineer, and you'll be shocked that I had to invest in hospital. I have hospital, and I have a doctor that is working there. I have nurses there. You know, it's a diversification. Even though I wanted to be a medical doctor, but I felt, what can I do? I have my wonderful lecturers then that encouraged me so much that, look, as an engineer, you can work and make money and build hospital and employ doctors. And that's exactly what I have done. So we should not limit our possibilities and our strength. Going through the University of Ibadan is an opportunity. And like I always tell people, anywhere you go, it is only UI and others. So I want to encourage our young ones that, look, be proud of your institution, be confident of yourself, and with everything you have acquired, especially in the Faculty of Technology, with the likes of Professor Ofi and Professor Luleye, you don't make mistake, comma, full stop, when you are presenting anything to Professor Luleye, you are in trouble. And you know, I remember those days when Professor Ofi will come to lecture, his shirt is like a blade. Well, iron, you think he was a businessman, but a lecturer. So it encouraged some of we as students at that time, look, I want to be like a prof, you know, and that is what has kept us up to this moment. I really appreciate Professor Ofi and Professor Luleye and other professors that have added value to our lives. And I pray that God will continue to bless your family as well. Once again, thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you so much, sir. It has really been a delight to hear from you and have share. Thank you, sir. I'd like to call on our mother in the department, the head of department, Dr. Mojisola Bolarinwa, to give the vote of thanks for this evening.
Good evening, distinguished guests, chairman, special guests of honor, guests concluding a alumni lecture series 9. I extend that is Director General of SMEDAM for your leadership and support. To our special guest of honor, Professor E.O. Ayola, DVC Admin, University of Ibadan, we appreciate your esteemed presence and contributions. Our guest of honor, Professor Ofi, former DVC Admin and former Dean Faculty of Technology, University of Ibadan, thank you for your valuable participation. Our sincere appreciation also goes to our distinguished lecturer, Engineer Adeola Shesanwo, CEO of Ogun State Security Fund, for sharing your expertise on sustainability of SMEs in Nigeria amidst the unstable economy. We acknowledge the active participation of all the attendees and commend the efforts of the team organizing this lecture series. Together, through this alumni lecture series, we have created a platform for collective learning and individual growth. Lastly, I want to express my sincere gratitude to everyone who have made themselves available here tonight for making this evening of knowledge sharing and engagement a memorable experience. Thank you, and may we all be blessed abundantly. Bye.
Thank you so much, Ma. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. So, like she has said, thank you to everybody for being here this evening. The event will not be what it was without your presence. And I mentioned at the beginning, I'd like to mention again, thanks to everybody who was present at the valedictory lecture for our retiring Professor Akombi this morning. Thank you for everything that you are doing. This is the 9th alumni lecture, and next month we'll have the Big 10th lecture in the series, and it's going to be delivered by Engineer Gbenga Oladapo on delivering technological innovation with effective project management. That's a packed topic. I am, as always, looking forward to learning and just being in a space where knowledge is being shared. So thank you everybody for being here. Thanks to all our special guests, to the guest speaker, our professors, and every other alumni present. Thank you so much. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Looking forward to doing this with everybody again next. Good night.